Hello and welcome to A Day in the Life Homeschool Edition. My name is Melanie Scott and I am a homeschooler. I have four sons. My 15-year-old is in the 11th grade and he is also dual enrolled at Chat Tech. My 14-year-old is working on 8th grade, 9th grade curriculum. My 9-year-old is in 6th grade and my 7-year-old is in 3rd grade. We've been homeschooling for 8 years and we are enjoying the challenge. We are enjoying the journey. So let's get into it. Let's dive in. Let's talk about scheduling first. I teach year round. We take breaks as needed. I'm specific about the summertime. During the summer months, we tone it down to just math, reading, and writing. And I also look out for summer camps that they would enjoy or something that gives them a new learning experience. Our days off are usually planned. We always do for our birthdays. Those are considered holidays around here. Dad takes off and we enjoy celebrating those times. But the majority of the times, if we are taking breaks, I'm watching, I keep an eye on the pulse of my children. And if we just need a break, we just take it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what goes on a weekly basis. As far as our weekly activities, we have some type of field trip, some type of enrichment, some type of class or community service that we end up doing at least every 2 weeks, if not every week. We are a part of Heritage Homeschoolers, and that is our extended homeschool community. We go to music lessons once a week. Of course, since COVID-19 pandemic has occurred, we are doing those online. The boys have tennis lessons that they take. And we also go and visit my grandparents in Southwest Atlanta on a weekly basis. And again, that gives us a change of environment, which is healthy for me and it's healthy for the boys as well. What else is good and also my son who is enrolled in Chat Tech, he has labs that he has to go to. And again, all the campuses are closed right now. So if you're watching this 5 years later, there was a pandemic that happened in 2020. And so we are currently in that pandemic right now in April. All right, so what does my typical day at home look like? I have an early riser. My 9-year-old is an early riser. He is normally up around 6:45, 7:15, and he is looking for his planner to begin his work. My 7-year-old follows him pretty closely, and he gets up around 7:15. They get dressed, they make their beds, and they head downstairs. They come down here, and they go to their desk to find out what their planners look like. They actually will sit down and start doing some of their work before they even have breakfast. My 14-year-old, he gets up around 7:45 and he gets dressed and prepares the breakfast that he wants or what the group wants. And my oldest usually gets up around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Now he has gotten into this habit of working on his college assignments until late. And so we are going to have to attempt to break that habit before the next semester. Now, the other big piece that I think is super important for moms, as you all are listening, is what is my routine? Because what I do impacts my entire day and impacts the entire home. I get up and I exercise every morning. And I have a workout that I do here at the house. I don't go to the gym. I do it all here. And I've even started running half a mile since the pandemic has hit. But this is my me time. This is my me time, my self-care. This is me pouring into myself before I pour into anyone else. And if I miss my workout, my day does not flow as well as I would like it to. And so I've recognized that. So it has actually become one of my non-negotiables just for me. Again, I take care of me first at the beginning of the day before I pour out to the rest of my family. When I finish my workout, I'll go and I'll get dressed and I play worship music while I'm getting dressed and get my shower. And by the time I get out and I'm dressed and ready to go, everybody's ready. Like, we're ready to do this. We're ready to start our day. when we, let's see, what time do we finish? We finish my younger ones, sometimes if they are, working extremely hard and continually going, they'll finish around noon or 1:30. My older two, sometimes their work requires a little bit more time, and so they finish around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., just depending on the task for that day. Science is pretty intense, as well as some of their composition, so that pushes their time a little bit further through the day. One of the questions, how do you handle working with multiple students during the day? Now, here's one of my keys. Every single one of my students has a full agenda when they show up in my classroom. Their planners are stacked tight, and it's continuous learning. If they're not learning specifically with me, it's independent learning, or it's some type of structured playtime, but they are nonstop. They have a full agenda when they come into my classroom. And it's just a side note. I don't believe in the word balance. For me, my truth is there is absolutely no balance in homeschooling, being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter, being that friend, being that business owner. That the word balance just really doesn't exist in the world that I live in. But I like to call what I do harmony. I am living in a nonstop orchestra, and I'm working to bring all these playing instruments together. And so even though everybody has some piece that they play, as the conductor, it is my responsibility to make it a harmonious melody, whatever you want to call it, some type of whatever song. But I attempt to identify things based off of what the priority is. So I might have a full day, but if my son comes down the stairs and he's sick, all the attention shifts to taking care of the sick child. And so again, there's really no balance that happens. It's really more of a flow and a harmony of how I make all the things that I need to happen in my home. Let's see. So question is, what do you do about little ones needing attention while you're working with your older ones? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my history. So every single one of my children started off in Montessori. My older two, they actually went to school at a Montessori school. And then when I came out of the workforce, I was a project manager at IBM. And when I came out of the workforce, obviously that tuition didn't exist anymore. So I duplicated that entire learning environment from the Montessori methodology in my home. And one of the things that they do, which I absolutely love, keep in mind, Montessori usually has about 30 children in a room. The ages they usually have 3 different age groups in that room, and they usually have 1 teacher and then 1 assistant teacher. And so if they have a question, their response, the child is taught to come and place their hand on their shoulder. And as soon as they finish with the child that they're working with, the teacher will turn their attention to the child who has their hands on their shoulder. Now, of course, that did not work out. It took a little time to work that out with my younger two, but they actually got the hang of that. And so if I'm sitting here working with someone on something, they can come over and put their hands on my shoulder. And, every now and then while I'm still talking, I might pat them just to let them know that I acknowledge that you need me and I'm available for something if it's not something urgent. But they have learned to allow me to finish what I'm doing with one student before I need to come to address the other. So that's just something I've done, and that's worked well in our home. The other piece is since we're all in the classroom together, I have them say it in Spanish. So they say, necesito ayuda. And so I know, hey, I acknowledge that you need some help. I'll be on my way as soon as I can. Let me finish here with your brother and I'll be right over. The other part is, and after they realize, wow, she's not going to answer me right away, even though I've called her unless it's an emergency, they have learned to identify, let me go see if there's something else on my planner that I can do independently, that I can do while she's helping somebody else out. And other times they actually just ask their brothers if they need help. So, we've learned now that they've all gotten to an age where I don't have any itty bitties anymore. Everybody has kind of learned that when mom is having a conversation or having a lesson with one of the other students, I need to find something else that I can do independently until she is available. And it's actually worked really well. How do you handle housework, laundry, dishes, and dinners? All right, y'all, harmony. You heard me say that before. And again, that is just the way I do things. I don't have a time when I just say, hey, I'm going to stop and I'm going to get dinner planned. That's just not how it works around here. We'll be doing things during the day. I'm keeping my eye on the calendar and on the sun. And then I know at some point we need to stop and we need to figure out what are we doing for dinner. One day I'm going to find some type of superpower to learn how to plan in advance, but that just has not happened here at my home. But I promise you, I feed all these babies. They get fed every day. As far as laundry, I will put a load in during the week when I can. I'm a real big person about not washing any of the clothes that could possibly get wrinkled. And for like towels and socks and underwear and things like that, I can just throw a load in there and then dry it. But then for the clothes, I tend to do those on the weekend. And I do that specifically for my younger two. I plan when I wash their clothes, I fold them and place them in their drawer so that they are able to get them out, but without the help of me in the mornings. And so literally their outfits are folded in their drawers. That takes any type of responsibility from me from having to get them dressed. They know I can open up a drawer, I can grab a shirt and a top and socks, brush my teeth, wash my face, and I'm good to go. So that's just something that that's the way we kind of do things here. What else? Let me tell you. So homeschooling style and, what does my home atmosphere kind of look like? So I am traditional in my homeschooling style. It's actually a mix of a little bit of everything. Again, like I mentioned, each one of my sons, they started off at Montessori. My oldest two actually went to a classical private school. And they were doing so amazingly well. I asked them to put my oldest in a grade higher than he was in. And they were like, oh, Miss Scott, we don't do that. And I'm concerned about his social development, blah, 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 blah. And so I kind of looked at my husband and I was like, if he bring one more 100 home, so we had to figure out something else. And so that's when I found out about that homeschooling even existed. And so we end up going to a conference and finding out a little bit more about it. And I decided, hey, let's bring him home. Let's try this thing out for a year. And you can pay me the tuition. so we've been doing it ever since. So this whole traditional piece, it just has worked well for us. And keep in mind, when I tell you that our planners are stacked, we have full agendas, full days, but it's not from a perspective as I'm trying to keep them, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm attempting to keep them on the same level as someone else. No, children are children and they have the ability to absorb a great amount of information that is provided to them. And so in my homeschool, my goal is to allow them to learn as much as they can. I'm very cautious and I watch very closely with what they don't like, what they do like, what their strengths are, what their areas of improvement are. But we go hard and again, I provide an environment which is a nonstop environment of learning. I'll tell you, I had a workbook for my youngest who was still learning how to write, I guess maybe when he was 6 years old. And he told me, he said, Mommy, I hate spelling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been reading since you were 3. Why do you hate spelling? But he was still learning how to write his letters. And so spelling became difficult for him because he was having to spend more time with how to hold a pencil and how to shape the letters more than he was about learning how to spell the words. So we made shifts with movable alphabets. And all of a sudden, later on, like 2 months later, he's like, "Oh, I love spelling. Spelling is awesome. I can do spelling in the back of my head." And but it was interesting to see that at that point in his development, he wasn't ready for a book. He wasn't ready for a workbook. And so again, I'm paying close attention to the development of my children to see where they are. Are there are there things that are keeping them from learning? And so we adjust as needed. So again, homeschool style, we take a little bit of whatever is needed, but most of my curriculum is books or textbooks or workbooks, and a boatload of hands-on pieces, and that's how we do it. Let's see, what else? Why am I homeschooling? I think I already went through that. We pulled them out because the private school was not providing the type of academic rigor that we were looking for. And then again, my goal is to provide my sons with a learning experience that supports their future. Whether they want to be a manager at Target or whether they want to be an aerospace engineer at NASA, it is my goal and it is my desire that they have the foundational academic background that they need to be either one. And so I put a note in here because I wanted to make sure it's important to note that none of my school can grow up to be a homeschool mom. So them shadowing me or doing the things that I do, like that doesn't exist for someone who at some point needs to be able to grow up, be men who are, positive contributors of society, who may one day decide to get married and have a family, and then provide for that family. I don't want them to shadow me. I don't want them to learn how to do, and of course they already know how to do life skills, but again, I don't want them to think that staying in a house all day long and teaching their children is what they get to do when they grow up. As far as my sons are concerned, their responsibility will be to, if you're a business owner, kudos. If you are an employee of an employer, kudos as well. But you won't look like mommy when you grow up. You won't look like a homeschool mama and a wife when you grow up. You will look like daddy. So that is my goal. My goal is to ensure that they feel comfortable being that man once they grow up and take those roles. How do I decide exactly what I teach? I line it up to my goals that I set for each one of my children. I set goals at the beginning of the year and write them down. And then from those goals, I identify what we're going to talk about, what I'm going to teach. And then I also add their pieces for what they're interested in. So my 7-year-old, my little one, wants to be a judge. My 9-year-old, he wants to be a doctor. My 14-year-old, he wants to be an engineer. And my oldest is interested in real estate. And so if you go into their curriculum or their drawers, you will see something that has to do with one of those areas. And keep in mind, I wanted to be a teacher when I was a little girl. And of course that I went teacher, but I went to become an electrical engineer. And then I actually became a project manager at IBM. And all of a sudden now I'm a teacher. But I say that to say that if any of them change and any of them want to do something different, they will still have the foundation academic background that they need to shift to whatever it is that they would like to do. So again, what my goals are for each student, what their interests are. And then I look at industry and global standards. I look at, if my son said he wanted to be a graphic designer, one of the things I would have a conversation with him is that this market is full of graphic designers. Mommy can graphic design. And so we would have conversations about where the industry is and where the industry will be in 10 to 20 years to identify whether or not that's something that he would like to do on the side, or if that's something that would actually provide him a salary that he can live on. One other thing I just think is important is we do report cards around here. My older two were used to report cards when they were in private school, and they kind of had an expectation of it. Once their first year of homeschooling was done, they were like, "Where's my report card?" And I was like, "Let me go work on that." And so I got their report cards done, and then the younger two saw that the older two were getting report cards, and they were like, "Where is my report card?" So we do report cards in my school, and I have character pieces on there, and we also one of the thing that's kind of beautiful about it, I know a lot of people are like, "No, I'm not doing report cards for homeschoolers," but I check fruit. Business people check their fruit. Entrepreneurs, they check their fruit. Employers check their fruit. Jesus checked his fruit. So it's not really a bad thing to say, "Hey, this is where I'm doing well, and this is where I can improve." And so we just kind of made it something that we do now. We check fruit. We have report cards, and we sit down with the principal, who is dad, and we have end of the year conversations or mid-year conversations, and we talk about areas of improvement. And it's just been a really good piece, a really good feel for our school. All right, what else? What curriculum do you use? Oh my, I will share this information in my links. But every year I print off something that looks like this, and I have my students at the top, and then I kind of plug and chug where we're headed and what we're doing. So from art to spiritual development, what do they learn on the computer, foreign language, handwriting, health and physical education, social studies, grammar, leadership development, which is one that most people probably don't think about, logic and thinking, math, music, science, spelling, vocabulary, writing, and then I have this huge area of extracurricular activities, business and finance, and then reading and literature. I think that's it. And for reading and literature, we always use books. We don't do like the little small, portions of books. We read entire books here, bibliographies and business books here. Another thing that is also interesting is our foreign language. We actually have, one of my goals is that all of my sons be bilingual. And so we invest big time dollars in Spanish Academy, where they take lessons from someone in Guatemala. They teach them privately for 2 days a week, and then we do Rosetta Stone on the side. And then every now and then we may pull up a YouTube video that's in Spanish. The older boys read their Bible assignments in both English and Spanish. And so we are just putting those pieces in. If my goal is that they're bilingual, then we have to speak it. They got to hear it. They have to write it on a regular basis. So anyway, I'll post that I'll post some of my curriculums over the last couple of years, the last 2 or 3 years, so you all can see all of the curriculum. I'm a big Abeka person for math. A lot of people hate Abeka, but I love the way that they teach the fundamentals of math, and then they build. And they give you a whole bunch of practice. And one of the things I tell my sons is, once I see that you've mastered this, we don't have to revisit it. Once you know, and again, I'm a math and a science girl, so math is one of my favorite subjects. And I always tell them that, math doesn't get harder, it just gets longer. It just takes a little bit more time to figure it out, but it doesn't get harder. It just gets longer. And they look at me like, yeah, Mom. All right, fine. Let's see, what else? What is your budget for homeschooling materials? Goodness. We are kind of in the 800s, I guess. Again, we spend about $1,400 in Spanish classes. I spend about $2,600 in music lessons. My oldest plays the violin. Second born plays the cello. I've got a pianist and another violinist here. And those are absolutely worth every bit of the investment. And then we do tennis. So that budget is a little, it's $800 for the books and things, and then the additional pieces. And here's another piece. Y'all, we are on one salary here in this house. I have absolutely no problem going to grandma, great granddad, great and granddad, and asking them for help. Hey, can you sponsor these classes? Is something beneficial? Is something that they need? Do you mind taking care of that expense? And I get yeses. I have asked aunties, hey, can you get me the lab equipment for of course, my sister. I asked her, I say, hey, can you buy the lab for my 9-year-old's medical book or whatever he's doing? And she'll say, hey, it's on the way. I bought it from Amazon. So I have absolutely no problem asking for help in the community that I'm in, because they understand, hey, this is a one salary home income and I'm trying to do big things. I think I even had one sponsor. We bought some robots and I was like, hey, these robots cost about $170 some. Can I get some help? People are willing to assist and people are willing to help in the investment of our kids. No shame, y'all, no shame. Where do I usually buy my materials? Most of my stuff comes online. I sometimes go to the vendor displays that they have at the hotels, but for the most part, I do all of my shopping online and get what I need there. How do you teach multiple children? And I mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again. And it's hilarious when I was trying to write my notes for this. These are my planners, y'all. These are my planners. And this is what my child sees when they come downstairs in a day and they're counting the amount of assignments that they have to do. They know all of the pieces that they have to accomplish. And so what I do is I line and I'll move out the way and see if you can see this. I line up their drawers with what is on this list. So the first thing is Bible. So when they open up their pieces, they know what their Bible assignment is. The second part, math. They know exactly what they have to do in math. And then we go social studies. Social studies comes next. And science and reading and English and spelling. And so they have all of their pieces already listed for them. And so what they do is I'll come in and write. Yes, I write. I have not decided to go to the Google Classroom yet. I'm not ready for that. But I write this information out. And as they finish, they cross it off. And we've been working on this since, I guess, since my littlest one was kindergarten. They know it's one line through that says that I've completed it, and they go to the next. And they know exactly how to look for each piece. They know how to look for, hey, what I have to do with mom. You'll see math says page 67 and 68 with mom. They'll see workbook page 50 to 51, which does not have mom, which means I can go in here and I can do some independent learning and I can read the information. And if I need help, I call mom and she's right there ready to work with me. So y'all, my planners, this is my supernatural power. This is my superpower, are my planners. I have 4 of these, one for each student, and I fill them out to make sure that they have exactly what they need and they know what they need to accomplish for the day. And it was hilarious. I was actually putting my notes together, and when I said, oh, wait, I need to go order wires for next year. And I just stopped all of a sudden, was like, oh, wait, no, let me go get these in here. And so I ordered our planners again, same format and same flow. Again, it's just that's y'all, that whole piece is my superpower when it comes to managing multiple ages and trying to make sure that we flow well in this environment. All right, so what else do we have? Let me see if there's anything. What are your biggest homeschool challenges? I kind of thought about that. And the one that kind of stands out right now is I would like for my sons to all have one good friend that's outside of this home. And that's actually just been very difficult to establish. And I think maybe it's one on my side, but then 2, it's just the environment. It would just be really cool just to have one good friend outside of the house. And I think the hard part for me is I intentionally tried to make sure that I had sons that were close in age. So they really have who they just kind of really have they brother, they friend on the side. But I think it'd be healthy to have a group or a group of folks that the older boys get together with, and they come together and make stuff happen. And that's actually why I started a beta club, because I wanted my sons to be in an environment where they could possibly build some friendships and do some community service and some academic excellent stuff. You know, but that hasn't taken yet, and I don't know if it ever will. But yeah, that's right now, that's my biggest homeschool challenge. What do you do? What do you wish I had done? Let me see. What do you wish you have done when your kids were younger? My biggest thing right now is I wish I would have polished up on my Spanish. If I would have done that before they were this age, we would have been talking it more frequently, and it would have been coming a lot naturally for all of them. And so once you get to a point where mom is like, habla español, and I'm not saying nothing else in English, you are now required to learn the language that your mom was speaking. And so if I could have done that when they were itty bitties, I definitely would have polished up on my Spanish so that I could support them and even make Fridays. We only speak in Spanish Fridays. So I might actually end up doing that. Let me see. What's the best piece of homeschooling advice you've ever received? One lady told me, when something isn't working, change it. Now, my first couple of years of homeschooling, I saw some things that I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But we went through it anyway. And I was like, I hated that book. So when she said that, it kind of gave me a freedom of, no, this your homeschool. If you don't like it, if the baby don't like it, take it out, sell it, put it in trash, recycle. There is no reason that I have to keep anything that is not working for our homeschool. And sometimes you just have to give yourself the freedom to say, hey, no, this isn't a good fit. Let's do something different. So that would be the best advice that I've ever received. And then what is the one piece of advice that I would give other homeschooling mothers? My biggest thing would be plan. Y'all, when I tell you I plan what we do here intensely, it is a well-crafted machine that is going on in my home. And here's the part, and here's the bigger part of that. I plan intensely, but then I know how to flow. Again, remember that word harmony. I know how to make sure that things are working well. And so I might have things planned out for Tuesday, but my son may come down the steps and he ain't feeling homeschool today. Or both of them come down the steps and neither one of them are feeling homeschool today. I have the ability, because my things are laid out so well, I have the ability to say, we gonna take it easy today. Y'all want to go outside? Do we need to go bike riding this morning? Or y'all need to get it out? Do y'all need to play a football game? Do y'all need to go outside and play some football, get some basketball? I'm able to keep my eyes on what's important, where they are as far as their composure, how they're receiving things from me. And if it's not a good day, it's just not a good day. And I'm okay with that. If I say, hey, get 3 things done and call it, we're done for today, they can go over there and they will finish up their work and they're like, I'm done. Let's do something different, mommy. And again, because I have established a pretty good format in this home, I'm not thinking about that when I go to sleep, because I know we'll pick up tomorrow, or we'll pick up next week. We have that ability to flow. So, again, plan with everything you got, make sure you have everything ready to go. But then at the same time, be okay with shifting, be okay with, and even with my youngest one, my 7-year-old, we don't even do the desk. They sit at the desk at some period of time, and then a lot of the work is done on the floor. I lean over and kiss that baby. I promise you, he would never have gotten as many kisses if he was in somebody's building. But I love on him. I cheer them on. If I see that they're getting frustrated, I tell them, take a break, take a minute, chop it up. Let's finish the rest of it tomorrow. I am extremely flexible in how we get it done. And then, but again, they are able to, every single emotion that they have is validated. Every single feeling that they have is validated. And so I tailor our days based off of what their needs are. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about homeschooling. One more other thing, and I don't think I mentioned this, what my independent learners, and I've had independent learners since Montessori, because that's kind of, it's student led. Montessori is student led, but they get to pick what they do first. It's usually, they always usually go toward Bible first, which I think is beautiful, but they get to, they have the ability with the planners, they have the ability, they are empowered to choose what you want to finish first. And so they are feeling math right now. They will get out their books and they'll be ready to do math. Hey, mom, I'm ready to do math. And we're in our lesson. They might want to do spelling. They may want to do reading. Hey, mom, can we read now? I allow them to be empowered in that area because, again, this is their learning experience. This is their learning journey. And so they get that moment to determine, hey, I want to get this done. Now, there's times when they like, I ain't finished that. I ain't feeling that social studies at all. I don't want to do that English and them sentence diagrams. And so when I notice that they're coming back down to the end, I'm like, hey, let's get the English book out. Let's finish it. And it works well. It works really well. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, I'll send those links as far as some of the things that I select for our school. This is kind of what we do. I could have spent days just talking about planners and scheduling, but I'll try to keep this thing in the 30 minutes. So hopefully I didn't go too far over. Anyway, again, this is a day in the life homeschool edition. I hope that this has given you some insight into what we're doing here. If you have any questions, feel free to comment and I will get you an answer. All right, take care. Bye-bye.